Right.
So, hello everyone. My name is Osvaldo Batista.
I'm Krishnashree Alada.
This is Iskandar Goel.
So, we are part of the group 2. We'll be talking about the Omega engineering case. Next slide, please. So, those are the questions that we'll be talking about. And just go ahead and go to the next slide.
I'm going to start with the questions 1 and 2. And my questions are, what is Omega Engineering's background and organizational culture? For over 4 decades, Omega Engineering has established itself as a premier provider of measurement and control devices in the engineering and manufacturing sector. With an impressive catalog of over 100,000 products, Omega has become synonymous with precision in measuring temperature, humidity, pressure, flow, and pH. Commitment to quality and growth. Omega's commitment to quality is evident in its ISO 9001 certification and adherence to eternal procedures. The company's culture is built on two key pillars. The first one is professional development. Omega invests heavily in continuous education and training for its employees, fostering an environment where innovation thrives. And the second one is state of the art facilities. The Center for Advanced Manufacturing in Bridgeport, New Jersey, and the Engineering Center in Connecticut showcase Omega's dedication to cutting edge research and development. Now we are going to talk about how it is taking to adapting to a changing world. To maintain its position as a market leader, Omega Engineering must evolve in several key areas. Uh, I'm listing them as follows: diversity and inclusion. By enhancing efforts to recruit and retain individuals with diverse backgrounds and abilities, Omega can create more inclusive workplace. Next one is customer centric approach. Placing the customer at the core of all operations will drive higher satisfaction levels and loyalty. Next one is innovation at all levels. Encouraging innovation across all levels of the organization will unleash the creative potential of every employee. And and we have enhanced communication. Improving internal communication will lead to better understanding and collaboration among teams. And last but not least, that is continuous learning. Investing in employee development will not only increase retention but also drive the company's growth. Now we are talking about strengthening information security. In the light of recent challenges, Omega must also prioritize the security of its information systems, such as implement robust access controls and regularly review user permissions, and enhance monitoring capabilities with detailed audit trails and network behavior analysis, and establishing comprehensive backup procedures with off-site storage and regular restoration drills, and uh, conduct regular security awarenesses training for all the personal skills. And last is developing an efficient incident reporting system to quickly identify and address potential threats. And by embracing these changes, Omega Engineering will not only protect its legacy but also position itself for continued success in an increasingly dynamic and competitive global market. As we look to the future, Omega's commitment to innovation, quality, and customer satisfaction will undoubtedly propel it to new heights in the world of measurement and control technology. The further questions are followed by my friends.
So, I'll be going over questions 3 and 4. So, was Lloyd motivation for his action against Omega Engineering? So he was unhappy about losing his status and influence at work. So all the frustration might have led him to sabotage project, run faulty designs, and cause delays on purpose to get back at his colleague, especially since he was no longer in charge. He was not managing people, and he was also demoted and lost his manager role. The second one is the company had no choice, so he had to be fired. And since his behavior was worsening, including more aggressive actions toward colleague. So although he had a strong reputation and contributed a lot to the company, his behavior was getting worse. Um, it was a tough decision for the company to let him go, given his long service and respect, but they had no choice. And also the third one, job search and perceiving justice. So noticing his unhappiness, so he applied for another company and in a more convenient location, but with a lower salary. So he wanted to leave his current job and find new opportunity. And I think with little to lose, he might have been tempted to sabotage his employer, possible using a logic bomb type of attack or a similar attack. Let's go to the next slide, please. Is there anything Omega Engineering could have done in this regard? Yes, I think there's a few things that they could have done to prevent it. Let's go back, please. I'm sorry, go back to question 3. Okay. Yes, so what they could have done to prevent this. So I think the situation could first proactive managing of behavioral issues. I think the situation could have been prevented with a more proactive approach from the company. Identifying and addressing behavioral issues early on, it's essential to avoid future problems. And I think it's everyone's responsibility to report such issues, so appropriate actions could be taken. So the second one, improve it, network security and access control, and I think that one is huge, since network security and access control were clearly lacking. He had unrestricted access and could do pretty much anything. So to make change, I think a clear process should be followed. Submit a request, get approval, test the change, and then implement it. Also, having a separate testing environment would be great, and to ensure change are fully tested before applied to production. So third, improving communication and documentation. This one is also huge. And I think there were major problems with how network policies and roles were communicated. Even though many people had high-level access, it wasn't clear who was responsible for what and who could make change. So having clear documentation on roles and permission would help with accountability. Last but not least, better exit procedure. So the way he was dismissed, it was not the best and fairest way, especially considering his importance and connection. The company could have handled it better by preparing properly and exploring options like an extended leave of absence. So next slide, please. So was he aware of the consequence of his actions and the possibility that he might get caught? Yeah, I think so. I think with his knowledge and experience, and he was aware of consequence of his actions. I think he knew that his action would harm the company and the operation, and it seems to me that he carefully planned it and carry out a logic bomb type of attack. So logic bomb is a malicious program that is triggered when a logical condition is met. So in this case, when he leaves the company, and he was also aware of the consequence. So he knew that his action could lead to an investigation. So he took steps to cover himself, and he probably didn't expect that the company would involve the Secret Service. Next question, please. So the action that the company could have taken to avoid it So definitely improve its security and monitoring. So establish clear procedure for who can make change and what can be altered. And also regular auditing is essential for tracking actions and ensuring accountability. And also additionally, they could bring an external authority to conduct audit and offer recommendation that could help identify suspicious activity and configuration issues. Also, again, clear exit procedure. So for terminate employees, they should check for borrow equipment and documentation. And also, if they could use asset management solutions that could fix the backup tape issues. So if you have an asset management system, so you know who has what, and it would prevent people leaving the company with equipment still check it out. Number three, and also a huge one, improved backup and incident response. So it's crucial to follow backup procedures and store backup tapes securely, ideally in a different location, a remote location, to protect them from disaster. No one should manage the backups online. So a clear separation of duties. So involve more than one people in the backup process. Also test the backup to ensure they work, and also since how crucial this Omega IT system, having a backup site ready for emergency would help prevent business disruptions during a major incident, a major disaster, for instance. And last but not least, better conflict resolution. So handle internal conflict and employee complaint better to stop problem from getting worse, and also set up clear process for addressing concerns, resolve dispute, and make sure employee have easy ways to raise issue. Also, respond quickly and fairly to their concern. I think this approach will help keep the workplace positive and prevent small problems from big ones. So now I'm gonna turn over to my colleague for questions 5 and 6.
Perfect. Thank you both, Osvat and Krishna. Amazing job. So before I continue to my question 5 and 6, definitely question number 1 is a good platform, for this case, of the cause. The culture, the company culture definitely allowed this to happen. It was a more family-oriented company instead of the usual, family structure. So that's probably why he was to relax, everybody's relaxed and all that stuff. So they're quite question one another. So on question number 5, what did Omega Engineering have done to minimize the impact from Tim's abuse of its information system? So basically, step 1, what I put in there is divide and conquer the responsibilities to other team members instead of leaving it up to Tim to decide for the company's IT system. So the company and manager, in this case, his immediate manager, Ferguson, just as a family-oriented company, fully trusted, and they did not question him for the past 11 years. So no one was oversighting the responsibility except him, and that's why they should have addressed it in the first place, and there wouldn't be in this situation. So the other thing is, it was very important, mentioning about tapes, equipment, stuff like that. So any Omega equipment should not leave the building unless it's approved by higher senior management. In this case, an example on the story in the case is that when they were asked, one of the HR personnel remembered that Tim borrowed the tapes on July 1st, but never pulled up to have it returned, and that was a big mistake. Another big red flag was the that he was the only one to back up the file and put tapes and maintain the system entirely by himself. So the step 3, the compliance audit training, it's a mess, and the policy enforcement should have been implemented instead of family oriented, and this kind of enforcement should be applied frequently. And one thing is very important is not only that Tim, but also the entire company, employees of the company should have been trained and educated well, so that there will be checks and balances for better outcome. Now even back in the past or nowadays, the insiders like an employee more threat than an external users, because this individual in some cases he knows inside out of the company's information, and it's easier to bypass the safeguard of the systems, especially the IT infrastructures. Step 4, the only person who challenged him in this case was Walsh, his colleague, but the company did not help both Walsh and him to address this, the issue and resolve it for better outcome. Instead, Tim was given a verbal warning, twice written warning, and then moving him to a new department. Since Tim was indirectly forced and moved to another department to ease the situation between him and Walsh, that even frustrated him more, because company having him move over there, they thought it's gonna be these things, but no. So, and the other thing is, company have them keep his network admin role while at the new department without any kind of evaluation. Before moving Tim to the new department, then his replacement should have taken over the network permission responsibilities to minimize the impact. They didn't hand it over properly. So step 5, Tim and the company enforced everybody to save any design files to the server instead of locally, which is server tape backup. That was a good intention at the beginning, and when Tim is have madness to the company, so what he did is there was a reminder to the user's terminal to tell them to back up their files. However, he removed that notifications, and no one noticed it, or no one raised to the higher management nor to the HR. So he even scolds or prevent the users not to allow them to create their own backup. It makes sense in a way if it wasn't a good intention. So the result, the users ended up not backing it up for a while, and there should have been a platform, whistleblower platform, that any employee, if there is an issue, they should have report it. But they don't have that, the platform, and because of that, the loss of data was huge, to the point bring the company down to zero on backup or data and stuff like that. So that's why they should have a disaster recovery exercise and move the tapes, not only probably local, also some kind of a vendor Iron Mountain or other sites, either back it up daily, incrementally daily, and weekly, monthly, and year, quarterly and yearly. If they did that, then if he erased any of those tapes, at least they have a back quickly recall it and store it. But they didn't do that. That was a huge mistake. For question number 1, that's a huge point to discuss. Family oriented company it didn't go well because there were no check and balances. So I'm all set, and thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
Go to the last slide, please. Question number 6.
So for question number 6, was this a real case? What was the outcome? What happened to Tim? Yes, this case was a true story that took place in Omega Engineering at the manufacturing facility in New Jersey. Omega server crashed in the morning of July 31st, 1996. That is 20 days after Tim was fired. So we know the story that he did program behind the scenes, it's a time up to to deploy any data, at that date, the 21st, and he did program that, to make it happen. So after the incident, the company suffered at a 9% decline in sales that valued in about $10 million. About 1,200 computer programs were deleted and purged, and that melted down the company's manufacturing capabilities. At some point, 80% of employees were laid off as a result. Sadly, many years of designs, great engineering, programming were gone in one day, in July 31st, 1996. So at the end, Tim was accused, and the evidence were mounted by the prosecutor, including outside investigators, including outside hardware vendors, and the governments, including the Secret Service agents. After a 4-week trial, Tim was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. However, he only served 41 months and $2 million payback.
Thank you, everyone. And this concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you both.